what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
Hey! We are the sheep. We are the sheep of another fold, yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Yes. That's how you do a sequel to a movie. That's how you continue a story. They did that. That was done. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to my channel. It's your boy Jacoby. Today we are here to talk about Black Panther 2 Wakanda Forever. I feel like the most highly anticipated movie of the winter has arrived, and last night I got to check it out, and it was a good one. It was a good one. It was everything that I really needed. There were a few holes, towards the end of the movie, but we're going to talk about all that stuff. If you're new to the channel, please hit the like button. It really helps me out a lot. Subscribe if you want to stick around for more. We do a lot of different things here in these ethers. I got to see it last night on its opening night, and the theaters were pretty packed. People came out, showed the support. It was a good look. I do expect this movie to make some bank, just simply because of the anticipation of how they handled, Chadwick's passing in real life and how they intertwined the story. Who would be the next Black Panther? I'm sure we all know who it is now, but we're going to get into all that. What I want to do here is do like a synopsis of the movie. I don't want to really go verbatim, scene by scene. I think I'm able to do it at a way that has minimal spoilers, or at least a lot of the key points, but it is from the comic books and it's no secret. Before I begin, let me start off with a disclaimer. I am not now, nor have I ever been privy on the comic books, okay? So I don't know all the rules. Please don't come at me for adding any information or for being excited about information that I should have known from the comic books, because I ain't read them, okay? This is from a bystander, just a patron in the movies, enjoying the story, okay? So don't come at me now. Enjoy the show. Had to say that. I just want to give my 2 cents, my breakdown, how I felt as a patron watching the movie, and also somebody who just loves the story in general. So, with that being said, let's get started. So the movie starts off, opening scene is at T'Challa's funeral. The writers kind of intertwine the death of Black Panther, Chadwick Boseman, but his character as well. It isn't said right off the bat how he dies, but it wasn't in battle. T'Challa passed away from a sickness that kind of overtook him, and a remedy wasn't able to be found quick enough because of what Killmonger did in the first movie. I like how they did that. But we do start off with the funeral of T'Challa, and it's beautiful. It kind of gives you New Orleans meets the Caribbean, South America type of vibe. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful funeral. Everyone is wearing white, and it's more like a celebration in the heaviness of the sadness. And they do the ritual sending off of Black Panther in the way of the traditional funeral and the way of the traditional sending off to their loved ones to the ancestral plane. Beautifully, beautifully shot and done. So with that being said, there is like this heaviness to the movie, to the characters. There isn't like this, screaming of joy. There is obviously like this darkness that we feel from the characters. One of the opening scenes is when Wakanda and its leaders are brought into like this UN meeting where they basically are talking about vibranium, what that could mean for the world, and how a lot of the leaders don't really want Wakanda to have that type of access to this material that could have weapons of mass destruction. Here we go. On site, Wakanda walks in and they are the pivotal presence of the courtroom. No one looks like them. These giant African symbols of royalty. Queen Rwanda, played by Angela Bassett, walks in there stunningly in her majesty and her glory. Strong shoulders, broad neck, head held high in response to whatever they called them there for while they're in their time of mourning. So they already don't even want to feel like being there. And on top of that, they're also pulled in there from an attack that the French or the US or some other country had done on them in getting this vibranium that apparently the leaders of these other countries didn't know about. In one of the opening dialogues, they basically say how they're afraid to have this material out there because of what it could do, and she basically says, no, we're not afraid of what vibranium can do. We're afraid of what you will do if you got vibranium in your possession. And I guess because they thought that since T'Challa was gone, that Wakanda was weak, Queen Ramonda basically strode up in there and was like, look, yes, we are mourning my child. Yes, we are mourning the king of Wakanda. Yes, we are mourning Black Panther. But if you think that you can come into this land, okay, while we're weak or otherwise, and take what's ours, you have another thing coming. Wakanda is still Wakanda. And that kind of shuts everybody up. It's almost like the satisfying feeling that you get when she tells these UN leaders that to their faces. And also with the scene of the courtroom, I love how even in this modern day courtroom, Wakanda walks in there holding their roots and their ancient ways of dress and of living and of style. And it kind of blends the modern world with the ancient civilization and what these civilizations would have possibly looked like today if they weren't, colonized, I guess. Like labels according to the movie. Don't come at me. Angela looked so regal and royal when she walked into that courtroom, standing there full of pain, full of hurt, but full of glory and power. That's all you saw was power. So the movie kicks off about a year after Black Panther's death, and we see a U.S. naval ship kind of coming through the waters of the Atlantic, and they're searching the ocean for this vibranium. Now that they know that it's out there, they're trying to get a piece of it. They go to the depths of the depths of the depths of the ocean, and they found traces of vibranium. Before they could actually extract it, they are attacked. Their boat is overthrown by these people who we know aren't Wakandians. But we're like, who are these people? Wakanda is automatically blamed for this, even though we know that it wasn't Wakanda who did the attack. But Wakanda doesn't know who did the attack because they think that they're the only people on the planet who knows or has access to the vibranium. But if you read the comic books or if you've seen any of the trailers of this new film, then you know that we're introduced to a different civilization and a new set of people who also have this access to vibranium. So now we are swiftly introduced to the Talokan, which is a underground ancient civilization city heavily based on the tales of Atlantis, who were occupied by the people of ancestral descent of like the Aztec Mayans from Mexico and that region. I believe the comic book depicts the actual city as Atlantis. I could be wrong. I don't know. Again, I'm not. Let me know in the comments. They also touched on the tale of the sirens, which we see in the very first attack, which are, legend has it that sirens were these beautiful mermaid ladies who would come up above the water and would sing, captivate and like lure men into the water with their beautiful angelic voices to their deaths. And I like how they played on different tales of our, mythological history. And then here comes these beautiful, big, strong, blue people who has lived in seclusion in their underwater civilizations for centuries without no one ever knowing anything about them. Well, here we are introduced to Neymar, whose people call him Kukulkan. I'm gonna just put it down here because y'all not about to get me to bite my tongue over a movie. Kukulkan. All right. Which translate as the feathered serpent god. He basically had these pairs of angel wings that are attached to his ankles, which gives him the ability to fly once he's on land. And let me tell y'all something, he a bad boy with them wings, okay? Oh yeah, Neymar is a bad boy. Whenever those wings started to flutter, you knew some trouble was coming. And so because the U.S. goes snooping around the oceans and discovers these rocks in these depths where vibranium is close to the Talokan, they basically have to emerge now and show themselves, hey y'all, flex on Wakanda and say, hey, because y'all introduced the world to vibranium, they're now coming to look for it, which is now putting my people and my empire in danger's way. So who's ever responsible for building these machines that can detect vibranium, I need y'all to bring them to me so I can kill them. Okay, now that the colonizing world has found that there is this treasure, death and destruction is sure to follow to anybody who has this in their possession. And they know this, which is why they kind of go and flex on Wakanda to give them this ultimatum. And honestly, these people, they don't want any trouble. They just want to protect their world and, help Wakanda protect their world as well. So after seeing this man, this human, seemingly human man with winged feet come out of the water, Queen Ramonda is obviously shook. And she's like, who are you? Where are you from? And why are you flying around with these little bitty wings on your ankles? Neymar is basically like, no, you worried about the wrong thing. Okay, we have other fish to fry. I need you to do what I'm asking you to do. We can talk later. Okay. Oh, and don't tell anybody we exist. Otherwise, I'll kill you. Okay, bye. And he goes back into the water and is gone. So mind you, the US thinks that Wakanda is behind this attack, and Wakanda's like, no, that wasn't us. But we also can't tell you who it was. So a plan is then devised to go to the surface world and, retrieve the scientist who was building these machines and bring them back to Wakanda, at least to try to talk to them or to get them to stop helping the government digging for vibranium. So against her better judgment, Queen Ramonda allows Shuri to go on this mission to get the scientists and bring them back to Wakanda. Now, she was very hesitant because A, she just lost her son, Black Panther. B, she's a mother, and her level of hurt and pain is at an all-time high, and she doesn't want to risk losing her child. This is another, this kind of mission isn't seen as like a regular mission. Although it's seemingly an easy one, she still has the fear. And I love how Angela Bassett's character really embodies the heart of a mother and a queen of the most powerful nation on the planet. Which role comes first? But again, against her better judgment, she allows her to go. So during the mission to finding the builders of these machines, the vibranium trackers, they're led to MIT, and they discover that it's a 19-year-old black college student girl who is the brains behind these technologically advanced machines. And I mean, she's killing it on campus. I mean, she's doing her thing. She's taking tests for the foosball players. She has a little side hustle where she's like taking tests for people and giving them A's. And she's just a brilliant girl. Her character is Riri Williams, played by Dominique Thorne, I believe. Excellent job. So I guess the government was basically snatching her prototypes and her ideas and were making, the machinery out of them. Or maybe she was selling them to them. I forget. I got the impression that they were kind of like going to science fairs and just like jacking these babies' prototypes. So during this mission to retrieve the scientists, the Talokan pops back up again. And they pretty much snatch up the scientists and they kidnap Princess Shuri. That kind of throws the plot into its whole nother kind of twist, which in a good way, we lead into the character development of who they are. But word gets back to Queen Ramonda, and obviously she is not happy. And she delivers one of the best monologues of that entire film. And she really kind of exercises her power and her regalness and her royalty in that moment as queen, but also as Queen Mother. The character builds are just one of the best of this film. The character emotions, the character plots, top-notch delivery, Marvel, top-notch. But to be honest, she's mostly scared. Like she's ticked off, but she's mostly afraid that her daughter is now in dangerous hands. But mind you, we don't know these people. We don't really know their motives. They came out of nowhere. And she's underwater. Y'all know what they say about... Never mind. We're not gonna go there. So while Princess Shuri is down there in the depths of the Talokan, aka Atlantis, we get introduced, and so does the Wakandan people, to the civilization that they had no idea ever existed for all these centuries of years. And then we really begin to see the heart behind Namor and who he is and where he comes from, and he goes into this in-depth, detailed story about his people and how they became about and why it is so important for them to stop this, because their whole world is at risk of being annihilated over vibranium. We see that these are peaceful people who has done nothing but live their lives for the past several years and just mind their business and kept the peace. It was honestly one of the most peaceful looking places, if I must admit. And they treated the princess with respect down there. She wasn't tortured. She wasn't really held in a cage. She was guarded only to be kind of kept as collateral to make sure that Wakanda did what they asked him to do. But they never meant to hurt her. The plan was never really to harm anybody. And as a viewer, we can see that the feathery serpent god's intentions were pure, and he had a good heart, and he meant peace. His sole goal was to protect his kingdom and his people. That's it. And so now here's where things kind of take a dark turn. So in an effort to kind of get back Princess Shuri, Queen Ramonda devises another plan as like a rescue mission where she kind of distracts Namor and she sends in her people to kind of go and retrieve Princess Shuri. Now she does this by outreaching to one of her bests, right? Nakia, played by Lupita Nyong'o. At this point, she hasn't been in the news story, and we find that she's now living in Haiti for the past, I believe, 5 or 6 years, just to get away from Wakanda. It could obviously be a lot. So she's been living in Haiti, and the queen basically comes to her and was like, look, I know you're gone. This is what's going on. I need your help. You're always a Wakanda, you know, where have you been? And she kind of lies to the queen at the moment. And she's like, look, I just needed a break from Wakanda and I needed to get away. I couldn't do it no more, especially after T'Challa's death. That's pretty much the half truth, but the queen knows the real truth, and soon we will know later. So in the rescue mission where Nakia goes down and tries to rescue Princess Sherry, one of the Talakan's people gets killed. Not intentionally, it was just kind of like a happenstance of the situation and circumstance. They wasn't out to kill anybody, but there was a casualty. So this particular Talakan member was Neymar's daughter. So this sends him in a controlled emotional rage, as you can imagine. I mean, rightfully so. Even though he should not have kidnapped the princess. It was just a lack of communication, you know? It was just a circumstantial, like, both of these kingdoms meant peace. He devises an attack with his people, and Wakanda gets hit with one of the most devastating, stealthily done attacks from underneath their country. I mean, they put a beat down on Wakanda, and he said that he would. One of the first times where I believed them. I was actually scared for Wakanda. I was like, oh, because mind you, these people also have resources and ties to vibranium, and these hoes can breathe underwater. Okay? They can do land and water. That ain't fair. I was worried for Wakanda. Like, I was legitimately worried. I didn't tell my neighbor. I didn't tell nobody, but I was. They delivered this surprise sneak attack on Wakanda, bringing water and fire and death to a lot of the people. And in a spine-tingling, eye-to-eye standoff between him and Queen Ramonda, he delivers a devastating blow to the palace that, in one of the most darkest scenes of the movie, causes Queen Ramonda to lose her life, and she gets killed during this attack. Over confusion, over utter, not even. Neither of them had hatred in their hearts. Neither of them had the will to conquer and destroy and to even kill one another. They just didn't understand each other. And over confusion and, you know, lack of time, really, we lose two people, one of them being a major role, Queen Ramonda. And how many times in real life does stuff like that happen? Do we lose lives over confusion? How wars are started over misunderstanding and don't get me started. So now that the queen is dead, Princess Shuri is all alone. Her entire family is now gone. You kind of see the anguish and the start of where her villain story could start, because she tends to take this road to vengeance. It was a lot, you know, they took it there. Marvel took it there after they killed Queen Ramonda. So combined with her technological brilliance and her natural bloodline, she actually becomes a new Black Panther after a prototype of a synthetic hope flower that she actually makes. But with that power, she kind of vows to avenge her family at all costs. She becomes a rose full of thorns because of what happened to her mother. But now that she has this power of the new Black Panther, I don't know if she's too excited to have it or not. She's kind of happy that she has it, but it's almost like too late for her in a way. But she still walks into that role, even under the guidance of M'Baku, the leader of the Jabari tribe, who kind of acts as like this wisdom-giving sage, like, you know, character, which is kind of, you know, different from his last role in the first one, although he still has a lot of the same humor and a lot of the same drop lines and things of that nature. We see him more mature, and I really appreciate that. He saw this kind of darkness rise in Shuri, and he was like, baby, look, you don't want to let this vengeance take hold of you. Okay, remember your bloodline, remember who you are. Even through all of this, remember you. And at first, it doesn't look like she's receiving that type of wisdom. She don't want to hear it. Okay. And rightfully so, right? Her brother is dead. Her mother is murdered. And now she's the new queen of Wakanda. Just like that. So in her final showdown, one-on-one, in this particular movie with Namor, the serpent-feathered god, she is met with the crossroads of either tapping into that hate and that vengeance that, you know, she's justified in having, or showing the compassion, the love of who she is and what Wakanda represents. I'm not going to tell you what she chooses. I'm gonna let you decide. I'm gonna let you watch the movie to see what she chooses. But let's just say that it was a perfect setup for Wakanda number 3. So after that final scene and peace is met for now, she needs to be crowned as the new Black Panther and as a new queen of Wakanda. However, she skips out on her coronation / crowning and she heads over to Haiti where Nakia is. And she goes there to visit her. And she also goes to kind of finish up her mourning process and pays final respects to T'Challa, her brother, because in the first part of the movie, she kind of did it haphazardly. She went to the funeral, but she didn't complete the ritual of the burning of the cloths. So she essentially goes to Haiti to do that. While she is there, and this is in the after credits, she actually realizes that and that she and her mother, and talk about a twist. Talk about a twist. That was a twist for me. So, and that's pretty much how this movie ends. That's pretty much the gist of it. I hope I did a good job of breaking it down without spoiling too many key factors. The movie is definitely something to watch and experience, just simply because the story is told beautifully. And I think that the writers and the studio did a marvelous job of intertwining T'Challa's death and Chadwick Boseman's real death in the storyline. So real quick, now let's talk about a few main takeaways from the movie, from my personal opinion. So one thing I really appreciate about this movie is that we see everyone is on a journey, right? After T'Challa passes away, everyone is at like this limbo standstill. Queen Ramonda, she wanted to handle it face on, like a mother does. Like she wanted to feel. Although she was very sad, she was processing her emotions out loud. Princess Shuri, on the other hand, she was kind of doing the whole avoiding thing where she would just keep herself in the lab. She didn't want to talk about it. She didn't really want to face it. And we see that by her skipping, certain ceremonies when it came to her brother's passing. But even still, we are taken through the rivers of their pain, right? And through those stories and through those journeys that we see, comes out the next chapter of the story. It gives it more passion. It gives it more purpose. We also see the transition of Shuri's life into adulthood, right? Very quickly, very rapidly. She goes from this carefree young adult or younger teenage child. I'm not sure exactly what her age is, but she's young. She goes from this young charismatic kid who was a bookworm in the lab all day to the queen of Wakanda in the matter of a movie. So what is that, like 3 days? 6 weeks? We don't know, but it was a short period of time. Again, the storyline was treated so delicately, the way that they interweaved Chadwick Boseman's actual passing with the story of how, T'Challa passed away. I thought that was done with grace and eloquence. I also appreciate the evolution of M'Baku's character. Again, I mentioned it earlier, how he was more so this wiser, still funny, still charming, still comic relief, but they gave him a sense of meaning. He kind of took over, I would say, in some ways, Forrest Whitaker's characters from last movie as again, the wise sage and the wise counsel and the one who was like, wait. Maybe we shouldn't do this. Maybe we should do this. Hold on now. I liked the way that they kind of grew his character. I really appreciated that. The costumes in this film were on point. It was like this perfect blend of ancient civilization meets the modern world. The colors, the tattoos on the heads, and the makeup, and everything was so, like we're here. Everything was so well put together. The cinematography was another key factor. The bright colors, the rich angle shots, the storytelling with the CGI, because remember, half of this battle was with a civilization who lived underwater. So of course there's going to be a lot of CGI. The CGI wasn't out of place. It was very much so appropriately placed, appropriately done. The shots were beautiful. The scenes, the music, the funeral scenes, the ritual scenes, the community scenes, all of those scenes still lived in a rich and vibrant, cinematic box. Now, let's talk about the acting. The acting from the majority of the characters were everything you needed it to be. And I really want to touch on the monologues. There were some monologues in this film. From Queen Ramonda, She had a few. I want to say my favorite monologue from her was after she was told that Princess Shuri was captured. Nakia's monologue and explaining where she went and why she's been gone, and her pain and difficulty in her journey with Wakanda. The monologue of Princess Shuri after the queen died, and when she was, talking about the passing of her brother and what that did to her. Even though she was filled with anger and vengeance, it made one of the most powerful monologues of truth, vulnerability, and action. Every word that she said, as an audience member, you felt, and you even agreed with her. The acting was on point. The overall flow of Wakanda was on point. It was obviously leading to a third. There were a lot of holes at the end of the movie. Yes, the fight scene ended in peace, but I also wasn't too sure exactly if Namor and his people were thinking of betraying Wakanda. Maybe I missed something there. I don't know. Y'all let me know down in the comments. But the ending of the movie definitely set up for a third and a fourth. Like, this story is not over. And then again, also at the end credits, when we realized that T'Challa, there's going to be a third movie. Overall, I give this movie an 8.5 out of 10. I'm loving the fact that there wasn't very much downtime. And if it was, it played in every part that linked to the bigger parts of the movie. They took their time in really explaining who the Talokan is and who the serpent feathered god was, and just blending all those stories together for us as an audience to put in the realm of the overall story. It was done absolutely beautiful. Like, I didn't even realize that this movie was almost 3 hours. It didn't feel that way. That's my review, synopsis, breakdown of Black Panther 2. I wanted to keep it simple. I may do one more in depth with more character development, but I didn't want to do something too outlandish because it is the opening weekend and I know people still want to see it, and I don't want to spoil anything because I do, hope that you guys go see the movie, take it in for what it is, and you guys draw your own conclusion. Again, 8.5 out of 10. Highly recommend it. Please go see the movie. Support. Thank you guys for watching, joining me for another video. Please connect with me down below. Let me know your thoughts on Black Panther down below. What did you think? What were some parts that you loved? What were some parts that you didn't understand? How did you feel about the ending? How did y'all feel about Namor and Princess Shuri's battle? And what do you guys think about Queen Mama Angela Bassett, Ramonda, being killed? But anyway, sign off at the bottom. Let me know. Guys, go watch the movie. If you're new to the channel, please stick around. Like, comment, subscribe, turn your bell notifications on. So, until next time, family. Deuces. I'm out.